Snow White is actually written by Greta Gerwig, who also wrote Barbie and Lady Bird and Princess Ha, and we've been talking about her a lot recently because of Barbie, but also she's one of my favorite writers and directors. I've liked her since high school, so this pains me because what she is doing with Snow White seems absolutely terrible.
Dude, I trusted you. I trusted her.
Because she's involved, I want to believe that this movie will have some redeeming qualities. Will I actually watch it? Probably not. But I hope that it does for those of you who do watch it. But the lead actresses, Rachel Zegler and Gal Gadot, are making it very, very difficult for me to believe that there is anything redeeming about this project whatsoever. Now, I am sure that we have all seen this viral clip, but let's just watch again.
You said you were bringing a modern edge to it on stage. What do you mean by that?
I just mean that it's no longer 1937, and we absolutely wrote a Snow White that is
not going to be saved by the prince.
She's not going to be saved by the prince. She's dreaming about becoming the leader she knows she can be, and the leader that her late father told her that she could be if she was fearless, fair, brave, and true.
Oh my god, it's a really incredible story. You're making this girl boss story based on an important father figure. Her father tells her to be brave and strong. Don't you think that there's a, something redeeming about men in this story? That just stood out to me. This is the first time I noticed that, even though I've watched this like 6 times now.
Just a really incredible story for, I think, young people everywhere to see themselves in.
Snow White is running for president.
I'm launching my campaign.
I am. Why do they look so smug? They both have that look on their face, just like the feminists, like, yeah, we're so much better than you.
The Snow White story and the intense rivalry between Brett Cooper and Rachel Zegler have gained new depth as a result of recent events. Famous YouTuber Brett Cooper has gained a lot of attention due to the controversial circumstances surrounding her departure from The Daily Wire, as well as her part in a competing adaptation of Snow White. Cooper, who was purportedly fired in what sources characterize as a hostile move, has kept quiet about the issue in public, which has fueled rumors about the Daily Wire's financial issues and CEO Jeremy Boring's increasingly unpredictable behavior. Fans who yearn for a return to the timeless romance and magic that made the story a classic have hailed Cooper's casting as Snow White as a victory despite these difficulties. Her method, which is based on the principles of the original story, has received a lot of praise, much to Rachel Zegler's dismay. Zegler, who received harsh criticism for her contemporary feminist retelling of the character, has not hidden her contempt for Cooper's accurate rendition. Zegler's scathing remarks, which labeled her detractors as archaic, have only heightened the controversy. This is a cultural conflict that is revealing significant divisions in Hollywood and beyond, not just a story about 2 Snow Whites. Number 5. Zegler's strategy continues to divide audiences, while Cooper's interpretation is being praised as a breath of fresh air. The fight for Snow White has taken on new dimensions, enthralling both critics and fans with the addition of additional drama from the Daily Wire's Financial. Did Disney go too far in adapting a beloved classic to contemporary cultural narratives, or is Brett Cooper's classic interpretation just what viewers have been yearning for? This story is just beginning, so fasten your seatbelt. Adding to the drama, it has been reported that the Daily Wire is experiencing severe financial difficulties. According to internal rumors, CEO Jeremy Boring has been frantically bugging the office, perhaps in an effort to resolve the impending crisis. Coop's transition into her new role as Snow White in A-Raw production is made more intriguing by this turmoil. These developments couldn't have come at a more important time. The conflict between Cooper and her previous employer as she assumes the spotlight for her role as Snow White begs the question of how the Daily Wire operates behind the scenes. Will this disruption help Cooper embrace her new role to the fullest, or will it only strengthen her position? As a strong character in this crucial Hollywood battle, the Daily Wire's ambitious foray into the entertainment sector is also clouded by its difficulties. As Cooper's Snow White project gains popularity and recognition for staying true to the original story, it is still unclear if the Daily Wire will be able to overcome these internal issues and continue to have a presence in society. To properly comprehend what transpired, let's take a moment to reflect. At first glance, this might be dismissed as 2 actresses with divergent artistic visions, but upon closer inspection, it becomes evident that Zegler's response is more about negotiating a fierce competition for public acceptance than it is about upholding storytelling values. The competitive dynamic between Cooper and Zegler is difficult to overlook. After alienating fans with her dismissive remarks about the original Snow White, Zegler, once hailed as a rising Disney star, now faces a crisis in her reputation. Here comes Brett Cooper, an outsider from a politically charged platform, who is not from Hollywood and has embraced the role of Snow White with genuine passion for the beloved story. Zegler has surely been shaken by Cooper's increasing appeal and favorable reception, which she may interpret as a direct challenge to her role's relevance and credibility. It's difficult to avoid seeing Zegler's criticism as an attempt to undermine Cooper's competition, given that it comes right as the excitement surrounding her performance is building. Zegler's criticisms appear to stem from her insecurity. Her portrayal of Snow White has already been criticized for being too modernized and out of touch with the character's origins. However, she hasn't gained much favor with franchise fans thanks to her own remarks, such as acknowledging that she has only seen the original movie once and detested it. On the other hand, audiences have responded favorably to Cooper's respect for the source material and her personal connection to the part. Zegler's defensiveness in interviews and her contempt for Cooper's strategy suggest a deeper fear of being eclipsed by someone who, ironically, isn't a typical Hollywood actress. Rivalry and insecurity certainly come into play, but Zegler's position also shows a sincere divergence in storytelling philosophies. Her idea of Snow White as an independent, fearless leader fits with a larger Hollywood trend of updating classic characters to reflect modern ideals. Cooper, however, stands for a counter-movement that places a higher priority on maintaining the authenticity of classic stories. Zegler may have criticized Cooper because he thought that telling the classic Snow White tale was outdated or regressive. Her contempt for the traditional themes of love and innocence, however, seems more like a dismissal of the elements that contributed to the story's universal appeal. In the end, Zegler's criticism shows more about her than Cooper. It portrays an actress who finds it difficult to balance her artistic decisions with her public persona. And honestly, I have no problem with such a literal translation. Regardless of whether they are motivated by rivalry, insecurity, or disagreement, her attacks on Cooper appear to be poorly thought out. Zegler has decided to shift the discussion in an effort to undermine Cooper's version rather than accept responsibility for her divisive portrayal. Ironically, this only serves to strengthen Cooper's standing as an advocate for people who believe that contemporary Hollywood has lost its way. Meanwhile, Snow White fans seem to be supporting Cooper's unapologetic traditional interpretation of the film because they are fed up with Hollywood's attempts to reimagine their beloved childhood classics. What kind of discussion about creative direction could have been constructive now appears to be a last-ditch effort by Zegler to recover a spotlight that is steadily moving in her rival's direction. How has the opposition to Zegler's updated vision been heightened by Brett Cooper's devoted portrayal of Snow White? Cooper's treatment of Snow White is a tribute to both Disney's original animated masterpiece and the Brothers Grimm story. Her portrayal has received recognition for honoring the story's legacy because it is based on conventional values like love, kindness, and resiliency. Many fans have expressed relief that someone is finally bringing Snow White back to life as they remembered her, and many have praised her performance as genuine and heartfelt. Zegler's updated version, on the other hand, has come under fire for ignoring the essential components of the original story in favor of a fiercely independent Snow White who rejects romantic love and leans toward themes of female leadership. Zegler has become a lightning rod for criticism due to her public remarks, which include her contempt for the 1937 movie and her casual attitude toward its themes. Cooper's respectful interpretation of the narrative accentuates this critique by portraying Zegler as disconnected from the very audience she was intended to enthrall. A sizable percentage of fans who feel deceived by Disney's increasingly woke retellings of classic stories have embraced Cooper's strategy. In sharp contrast to Zegler's apparent indifference, she expresses her love for the original story and her personal connection to its themes. So, there is a glaring difference because Cooper publicly values Snow White's legacy, while Zegler acknowledges seeing the original movie just once before rejecting it. While one actress aims to rewrite the story's origins, the other respects them. As supporters unite behind Cooper as the legitimate heir to the Snow White legacy, this division has intensified the backlash against Zegler. The two actresses are frequently compared in online forums and on social media, with Cooper standing out as a symbol of defiance against Hollywood's tendency to modernize beloved characters at the expense of their inherent charm. Zegler's defensive and frequently contemptuous reactions to criticism stand in stark contrast to Cooper's realistic, upbeat manner. Cooper comes across as friendly and sincere, but Zegler's remarks, such as calling parts of the original Snow White eerie and archaic, have further distanced her from her. Because fans believe Cooper embodies the qualities they identify with Snow White, humility, kindness, and a connection to timeless storytelling, this shift in public opinion has fueled the backlash against Zegler. Cooper's success also speaks to a larger cultural sentiment. In a time of perpetual reinvention, there is a desire for authenticity and nostalgia. Her rendition of Snow White is more than just a show. It's a cultural statement and a reclamation of a tale that many believe Disney's contemporary adaptations have warped. Cooper's strategy is refreshing for fans fed up with Hollywood's alleged pandering, while Zegler's vision is a bitter pill. Cooper's adaptation of Snow White has not only rekindled interest in the classic tale, but also highlighted the dangers of deviating too much from its core. By faithfully following the original story, Cooper has unintentionally established a standard by which Zegler's updated version is being evaluated and found wanting. Cooper's strategy demonstrates that audiences are still strongly tied to traditional storytelling and oppose needless changes, which has heightened the backlash against Zegler. How does Rachel Zegler's perception of Brett Cooper's portrayal as a threat relate to her own remarks regarding the first Snow White? It's very, very easy. Because Brett Cooper's accurate depiction of Snow White directly contradicts Zegler's modernized vision and highlights the contentious nature of her own approach, Rachel Zegler May sees Cooper's portrayal as a threat. Zegler's dismissal of the 1937 classic as archaic and eerie contrasts sharply with Cooper's portrayal, which is rooted in respect for the original story and its timeless values. In addition to attracting negative comparisons, this divergence undercuts Zegler's efforts to redefine the character, making her defensive and possibly insecure. Zegler's adaptation of Snow White rejects the romantic and conventional themes at the heart of the original story in favor of independence and leadership. Cooper's portrayal, however, reinforces these very aspects' timeless appeal. Cooper has tapped into the affection and nostalgia of fans who value the story's legacy by embracing the innocence, kindness, and faith in love of the original character. This striking contrast is dangerous for Zegler because it shows how much her interpretation deviates from what many fans value. Cooper's popularity has spurred a larger discussion about the merits of conserving traditional storytelling as opposed to adapting it for contemporary audiences. For Zegler, this criticism jeopardizes not only her interpretation of Snow White, but also her reputation as a supporter of progressive narrative. It compels her to face the potential that audiences might not be as open to her idea as she had hoped. The backlash against Zegler has been greatly exacerbated by her public remarks regarding the original Snow White. She has alienated a core group of fans by criticizing the 1937 movie's emphasis on romance and love and dismissing it as relevant to contemporary audiences. Perceptions that she lacks respect for the character's legacy were further strengthened by her admission that she only saw the original film once and detested it. Cooper, on the other hand, presents herself as a defender of tradition because of her respect for the original tale and her personal affinity for its themes. Zegler's remarks come across as dismissive and out of touch because of this contrast. Cooper is now viewed by fans who were previously dubious of Zegler's strategy as a more genuine and deferential guardian of the Snow White heritage, which heightens the scrutiny of Zegler's interpretation. A deeper ideological conflict is reflected in the stark differences between the two actresses' approaches to Snow White. Zegler's interpretation is consistent with contemporary feminist principles that prioritize leadership and agency over conventional fairy tale romance. Although this strategy might appeal to some people, it has also come under fire for eroding the character's inherent charm. Cooper, however, appeals to fans who have grown weary of Hollywood's alleged push for woke reimaginings because it signifies a return to storytelling based on timeless values. So in other words, they don't want to hear what you diversely value. Cooper becomes a symbolic threat to Zegler's vision as a result of this ideological conflict, demonstrating that audiences can still be enthralled by a faithful depiction of Snow White. Cooper questions the need for Zegler's updated story, exposing Zegler's artistic decisions to close examination. Professional rivalry may also be reflected in Zegler's responses to Cooper's portrayal. Despite being best known as a YouTuber, as an actress taking on Cooper's adored role, contrasts with Zegler's difficulties gaining popularity as a budding Hollywood star. This dynamic might exacerbate Zegler's insecurities, since he might feel that Cooper's ability to win over the public with a more conventional strategy eclipses him. Furthermore, Cooper's portrayal is perceived as being excessively critical and dismissive due to Zegler's defensive stance. Zegler's criticism of Cooper runs the risk of coming across as petty rather than emphasizing her own advantages, which would further damage her reputation with fans. Cooper's portrayal has received praise for bringing Snow White to life in a sincere and emotional way. Her ability to capture the spirit of the character while respecting the story's origins has won her accolades from fans. The polarizing reaction to Zegler's remarks and performance stands in stark contrast to this favorable reception. Zegler's strategy is portrayed more negatively the more Cooper is praised, which feeds back into the relationship and increases the strain between the two actresses. Zegler's perception of Cooper as a threat highlights her own concerns regarding how her version of Snow White will be received. It implies that Zegler is defensive about being overshadowed by a more conventional portrayal of the character and is acutely aware of the criticism her updated vision has received. It's possible to interpret her criticism of Cooper as an effort to divert attention away from her own contentious decisions, but it runs the risk of backfiring by confirming the combinations of the main characters that live in real life. In Chapter 6, we have, again, immaterializing, but one return to reality. It implies that Zegler is disconnected from her own contentious decisions, but in truth, it implies that Zegler also shadow bans. There you have it, a conflict of ideas and viewpoints between Rachel Zegler and Brett Cooper. Zegler's severe criticism of Cooper's Snow White may be the result of insecurity or a severe fear of being overshadowed. Cooper's accurate portrayal has garnered a lot of support, highlighting flaws in Zegler's updated strategy. This is a cultural conflict between tradition and innovation, and what we actually want from our stories, it's not just about two actresses. Will the controversy make Disney's Snow White fail, or will the Daily Wire's traditional approach hold up better? Please share your opinions in the comments section. Which team do you support, Cooper or Zegler? For more unvarnished perspectives on Hollywood's most outrageous controversies, don't hold back and be sure to subscribe to Woke Informant. Keep challenging the stories you're hearing and the people who are telling them. Until the next time.